1. We're live.
And we're live.
We're live. With my good friend, Reese Lenarduzzi.
How are you, buddy?
The Italian stallion.
Half Italian. Come on.
Half Italian.
Give the Australian part of me some credit.
Whereabouts in Italy are you from?
Udine.
Udine. Where's Udine?
Right up north. So there's a small village called Dignano.
Yeah.
And that's where both Nonna and Nonno are from.
Yep.
Yeah, that was quite, that when I was living in Italy, that was quite the trip.
Really?
So I lived in Rovigo, just out of Venice. So you're probably talking, I think it was about an hour and a half north.
Mm.
And everyone that came to visit had to go and see Nonna's house, but it was good. She'd written out a sort of A4 script of, okay, when you're driving into town, you're crossing the bridge, look to your left. And I did, and there was all these stones, and heaps of water running around these stones, but then I'd read on that we built the house out of those stones.
Oh, wow.
So you're having goosebump moments of, decades ago.
Mm.
And then her and Nonno learned to swim in that river.
No way.
And, rolling through town, getting a tour of the town by this A4 page.
Yeah.
That was an experience. So my family's from Dignano.
That's what happens with podcasting.
Yeah,
We just go on massive little tangents. So.
Which is it's quite different. Most immigrants in Australia are from the south. I mean, do you know your?
Yeah. We're from Avellino. So Avellino is just east of Napoli.
Right. So south.
So south, but farmland, like inland. Yeah, that's
scum of the earth.
Scum of the earth, mate.
From
yeah.
the south,
Yeah. You stole all our jobs from us, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
I'll say our, like I was there.
Yeah, me too. It's a live rivalry, north versus south.
Yeah.
You and I spoke about the rivalry just within the sport that brought us together, the rugby league. But it's the same with I was obviously there playing rugby union, not rugby league. Most of the rugby unions in the north, but the rivalry between the north and southern teams is quite strong.
Well, let's introduce you a little as well. Like we have Reese Lenarduzzi. How I know you, we played footy together for the Italians, the Italian national side, which I get laughed at by some people. Like, oh yeah, you played international footy, but other people are like, it doesn't matter, man. Mate, there's 50 other Italians behind me as soon as I say that. But other people it's just a big wow factor, and I didn't realise that power that it had of going on that Wales tour in particular. Like that's the pretty much only tour that I went on. But the power that it had in the long term with my confidence, and I guess it was a story to tell. Like there's not that many people that can say that they're international athletes, you know, and I think that it was a good time for the Italians as well when we were there. I feel like, I mean, everyone's going to say that even now when they're playing for Italy, it's going to be a good time. But I felt like that was the tipping point. You know, that Wales game felt like that was the time that we're
building to something.
We're building to something, and not many people knew, or any of us, when we were over there. There's not that many first graders that were in that team in Wales, but I feel like that when we beat them, that was just like maybe we can make the first ever World Cup. You know?
Yeah,
it was
I
like
think
that starting point.
You played in the Med Cup in Australia.
Yeah, the year before.
So that was our sort of initiation to Italian rugby league. But I can't think of a single teammate that we would have had amongst that sort of epoch in Italian rugby league that didn't. It was a sort of important time in everyone's lives. I mean, for me personally, it was probably that moment where travel overtook my passion for travel, overtook my passion for footy.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
The beginning of the end.
Yeah.
But that one win against Wales. I mean, we went to Wales. You'll recall we were supposed to play another game, and it was rained out.
Yeah.
So we were over there for maybe 3 weeks a month,
Yeah.
set to play 2 games, and it ended up being a complete and utter bonding trip.
Yeah.
I mean, the Welsh were probably together for a few sessions. It was their home turf. We were on the road, staying in a pretty small hotel. We did everything together. And then when we achieved what was at the time, I'm pretty sure most would describe as the Italian Rugby League's greatest win at that time. It was something to be a part of.
And it was just it was a good time. Like I remember being around there, and I got excited to play, like seeing you guys again, like from the Oz Med Cup, and then in Wales, like when Carlo said you're going to go, join us in Wales, like playing the residents, played for the Italian residents for Padova in the grand final. Didn't even know it was a grand final. That's how I made it in. I don't know if I meant to say that.
Did you? Who cares?
Who cares? I don't know if I meant to say it. It should be behind closed doors, but I made it as Italian resident.
Yeah.
Because there was too many Aussies, but I was Aussie.
It sounds like a very Italian strategy. What did you think of Padova? Padova's a great city.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. I met Matt Sands up there. Like a guy who played, unlikely Italian. I didn't think of him. Like I thought he would be more. When they said that, I don't know. I didn't picture him like that. And Tiziano, they drove me from Monselice to Padova.
Yeah.
In a car that I didn't know they could even speak English.
Yeah.
Like I was just getting picked up, and it was like a spy mission. It was one of those situations where it was a spy. It was like I was up there. Carlo sent me an email saying, "Go to Monselice, and then we'll pick you as an Italian resident. Maybe play for the residents team.
Yeah.
After you play in that part of it versus whoever the other team was.
Yeah.
From the local leagues, and then you're playing the residents against Lebanon, and then that'll probably be it for you. But if there's an injury or something, then we might be able to get you in there, or we might be able to get you picked as one of the residents there."
I didn't realise there was such a lead up for you. Like that's
massive lead up for me. That's what I was like. I was so stoked because I was on a binge from that for about a month beforehand.
Yeah.
I was binging, drinking, and partying in Ibiza.
Good pre-season.
Yeah, great pre-season.
Yeah.
Then what happened? Yeah, we Carlo sent me an email. Goes go to Venice right now, and and then we'll pick you if it comes to that, and then go to Venice and wait for a guy called Tiziano to call you. He'll call you on say September 20th, September 27th. Or September 25th, I think I was there 5 days in Venice. I'm like, do we stay here again tomorrow? I was with my missus at the time. Like, who is this guy? I don't know.
I'm truly over gondola rides.
Yeah, so over it. So over Venice and the pizza. I love pizza, but dude, Jesus, get me out of this joint.
I didn't realise it was, that's quite stressful for someone who had retired.
Yeah, I was retired, mate. I was gone. I was like just living the high life at 24.
Yeah, Ibiza, Venice, and then you're getting the call up for test matches.
Well, Tiziano rang me and goes, come to Monselice tomorrow. I'm like, mate, fuck, I've been waiting 5 days to hear your voice, and then you say those 10 words to me, and then...
he would have had to have had a coffee and have a think. And better call that kid now.
Yeah, better call that kid now.
I love Monselice.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Mate, when I got there, I was like, I don't know what this town is, but when we're going there, I want to go back, just to go back.
It wasn't that far from where I lived when I was living in Italy, and it was a nice sort of, because it's a village essentially. It was a nice sort of get the full Italian experience and go and have a coffee in the village. And, the one famous piece of shop, the one gelato place. What was that bar called?
I can't remember. It was right at the end of the street, wasn't it? I just remember it being like the hotel was on one side of the street and the bar was like right down. You walk past the panini shop on your right and you're all the way down.
I'm trying to think that was HQ.
Yeah.
I remember we went mad there a few times.
Yeah.
A few big nights.
Yeah.
And behaving in a way where one would be arrested in this country.
Yeah.
But the staff at this bar were with us.
Yeah, they were.
They were loving it. I think they were sending their kids to college. Big spenders.
And probably and them to college as well. I remember there was a guy sitting there with his puppy, and he had he had lime pants on, and like pink shirt tucked in with a white belt or something, and he was sitting there smoking his cigarette, having an espresso with his dog.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, we're all getting blind, and this guy's just sitting there with his lime pants on, just having an espresso.
That's something that sticks in my memory of living in France. Dogs in bars.
Yeah, okay.
Just normal.
Yeah, really?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Get that Labradoodle away from my leg.
Yeah, stop
humping.
Smash
this schooner.
Yeah.
But no, you learn to accept those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what an introduction anyway. That's how we know each other.
Yeah.
I'm very privileged to have known you for that many years. I can't remember maybe probably about 6 or 7 years, maybe a bit more.
Likewise. Well, it's actually coming here. I had thought of. I often get asked that question: do you miss footy? And when you think about it in sort of its raw way, it comes to you. Like, I don't. So it's usually a pretty quick answer. But in terms of having a real good think about what you get out of a short rugby league or rugby union career, it's quite an interesting dive. Like, we wouldn't know each other, I spend time with guys like Dom every day. And my only connection to him is rugby league. I was best man at a wedding with a guy I played with at the Roosters.
Yeah, okay.
In the 20s. Huey Stanley, do you remember him? Aboriginal fullback.
Oh, I do remember him.
Greg Inglis-ish.
Yeah, Greg Inglis-ish, yep.
Yeah. I was best man at another guy's wedding in London who I played with in Italy.
Oh, wow.
The connections you make, are ridiculous. I mean,
and I think that's an important point that you bring up there, because I think we get so caught up in trying to make first grade, we lose track of actually what football rugby league brings us.
Yeah.
I felt like a failure for many, many years because I didn't make NRL. And I'm like, even though, we played international footy and that, but like, it was NRL. For me back then, it was like, I only made NRL, and I didn't even make New South Wales Cup in the end. I don't even think I played one game. I played maybe one game or something like that. So I felt like a failure. But you miss the friendships. I know it's a bit cheesy, fluffy, but you miss the friendships that you make along the way, or the connections that you make along the way.
It's a shame that we can only arrive at these clear sort of positions that we're talking about now on reflection and not in the moment. Because there is so much pressure on people in that sort of life. There's one goal in this country. It's to play first grade in the NRL, which definitely, like, when you go and play overseas, that's stripped right back for me. Like, that was just really, like, that was what I was
designed for.
Well, yeah, and that's all. Like, I mean, how many books did I not read because I sat there at night thinking, tomorrow's a massive session, I'm so nervous, and then thoughts along those lines. It's a shame. But as I said, on reflection, you make lifelong relationships. Many people, like business relationships and things like that arise as well. So, yeah.
It's
don't
interesting.
Apologise for the fluffiness, mate.
No, not at all. But it's funny how, like, you're right. I wish that back then I wasn't even being in the Italians. I'm like, this is good, but I didn't make first grade, so I can't really. I'm a fake. I'm like, fucking, what an idiot.
No.
Like, why are you thinking? I know it's just a lack of maturity back then, looking back on it.
I think from now on I'll commit to a a more in-depth answer to that question. Do you miss playing? No, I don't miss getting head slammed by Tommins.
Yeah.
I was an okay player.
Yeah.
I was, I wasn't ever going to be Andrew Johns or anything like that. And I actually see that as a skill to be able to recognise that and be fine with it, because I have friends that I played with when I was 20, 21, 22, who are even a few years older than me, but are obsessed with rugby league. And they're still bouncing around in the New South Wales Cup, having not played one first grade game, tradies, getting up at 5 a.m. every day, dealing with M5 or M4 traffic, busting their backs all day, and then going to training at night, thinking maybe I'll just get that one game. It's analogous to that person that thinks, if I get that one girl, and then everything will be all right.
Yeah.
If I get that one first grade game, then it would have all been worth it. I highly doubt that it is.
Yeah.
So back to when I'm asked, I think I'll commit to no, I don't miss playing anymore, but I'm well aware of the benefits that playing rugby league gave me, and rugby union. I mean, for me, again, it was my ticket to Europe. Lucky that I have a European passport, so in both instances, when I was playing in France and Italy, I counted as a local. So that was a leg up of many people. But yeah, footy was the ticket to go and experience all that and get to know myself.
Yeah. And do you think that those sort of lessons that you've learned at a young age has led you into the position of the discipline that you'd had to show in rugby league with the training, getting up, going through the process, getting bashed by Tongans, whatever it may be, now leading you into a point where you're actually studying hard, working on a career path where you're doing multiple degrees, and then you also being a sports agent. Like, this is all stemmed after rugby league, like these successful experiences that you've had. Do you think that a part of it was to do with the sport that you played, or is it the fact that it's sport in general?
You'd have to assume that you get a lot out of, especially the discipline side of things. Dom and I actually trade ideas on this often, because when you get someone who's never really played at a high level, or just someone who's never played team sport, and you get them to, say, a group session at a gym, and it's starting to get really tough, and you're supposed to do 10, they do 9, you do 11.
Yeah.
Just because you've got that old trainer in the back of your head. Yeah. You'll recall that you don't pull up short at a line ever. And I'm sure you carry that through life. I mean, you were talking about your goals for the podcast just before we started, and talking, and just lines like, "Oh, we can always get better." I'm not sure that's inherent or innate in one. That probably comes from being in environments like a rugby league pre-season.
Yeah. Oh, the haunting pre-season. I'd love to go back and just do the fitness so I can get in shape again.
I'll watch, mate.
Definitely don't miss getting yelled at. Definitely. But so you were a sports agent.
Yeah.
After rugby league, I found that off Dom as well. Dom, me and him were having a conversation. I was asking about you. This was probably about a year ago. Like, how's Reece going? Yeah, I go, how's Reece going? He's like, mate, he's a sports agent now. I'm like, well, what? A sports agent?
Yeah.
How does that work? Like, well, how'd you get into that first of all, and what was the experience like?
Well, again, I've probably got the prior career to thank. I was playing rugby league in the south of France, and living in a city called Narbonne, which has sort of accidentally become a little Aussie hub. There's lots of rugby league and rugby union teams in the region, and Aussies tend to gather there. There's an Aussie pub. I'd love to actually jot down how that's become this little Aussie hub. But anyway, I was living there. And the agents that were to go on and do my deal in Italy, one lives there and one was in and out. The CEO was in and out of there in London and Barcelona at that time. I'd always had one that was terrible. Do you hear that?
No.
Bad English.
Oh, really?
I'd always had
yeah.
one eye on post footy.
Yeah.
I'd done okay at school. I have a lot more interests than footy. I'm not one of those people I was just describing that's just obsessed. I probably never loved it, to be truthful. I was just okay at it, and it was society liked those who were sports people.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm from a small country town. It was a rugby league town.
Where was that?
Moss Vale.
Oh, okay.
You play footy if you're from Moss Vale.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So I'd got close with these agents who were to do my deal in Italy, and I was always sort of giving them a nudge, like, "Oh, is there anything I could do?" I thought it was very cool. I was interested in it anyway, and I'd sort of committed after that year in Italy. There was a number of reasons why I had to come back to Australia, personal and stuff like that, but it worked well because I'd committed to a law degree, which I haven't finished. I'm still chipping away at it. Years ago. I've chipped away at it slowly and at my own pace. It hasn't made sense to study full time and work up until now, which I'm sure we'll get to. So coming home and again, sort of giving them a nudge, is there anything I could do? And I'd grown quite a relationship with the guys, and it was kind of well, show us what you can do type situation. And I went around signing guys I played with and against. But the agency had really committed to becoming a football agency at the time. So I sort of inherited those goals and aims and just went wild. Went around signing a lot of A-League players. And it was great. I had a good time. Again, made friends for life. It ticked the box of travel. I was in Europe for approximately a couple months a year, in the middle of each year for maybe 4 or 5 years, at the boss's residence, and we're like best mates. So it was a hell of an experience. We usually that was in Barcelona, so we usually drive up into France. Meet with rugby and football clubs, or duck over to the UK and do the same. So yeah, that was sort of the move into it, and I was loving it for many years. But if I was to continue, it probably means a move overseas, most likely Europe, and as I just mentioned, I have other interests, and I'm very intent on finishing my studies. As you also mentioned, I'm doing 2 degrees and a diploma at the same time, so that's definitely the focus at the moment. And if I want to go and put my time and energy back into being a sports agent, I can, but I have to get this stuff done first.
Was it all what it's cracked up to be, being a sports agent? Like, not underselling or overselling, whatever you want to go down the path, but I just imagine an agent like Ari Gold from Entourage, screaming and shouting, but then you make millions of dollars and then you get people to sign pieces of paper. That's how I imagine a whole sports agent.
I've got a lot of Ari about me, actually.
Oh, yeah?
No. It's not Ballers.
It's not Ballers?
Have you seen Ballers?
I haven't got into it yet. I haven't seen it.
Yourself.
Is it that good?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Is it? What are they on, season 4 or something?
I might be up to season 3. You could be right.
Yeah, I've got to go get that. Go home tonight and buy that on iTunes.
Yeah, I think they're only half-hour eps too, so you can
just go nuts
knock a few off. Yeah. At the top end, football agents are doing deals worth tens of millions of dollars in one hit. But it's very, very difficult to. This is the world game, and there's 3 or 4, let's say 10, just to be safe. There's 10 agents that sort of run the show, and to be one of those, I assume, is quite the life.
Yeah.
But up until you're dealing in those high-end deals, it's a grind. Different time zones and stuff like that you have to deal with. But yeah, it's really rewarding when you seal a deal for a kid who that's all they ever dreamed of. But of course, on the reverse, it's hard managing expectations. Some parents can be a bit fun.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, the best footballers in the world are Brazilians. Let's go South American, Central American. They're from dirt poor. They want it more. So with Australian players, you can come across some interesting characters that wouldn't hack it in the environment that these stars come from. They're fighting their way out to feed their families, and you can't imagine that mindset if you go to a private school in Sydney.
Yeah,
it's just another world. So that can be a bit frustrating. Gradations of gratefulness, or just an understanding for one situation. It's very different.
Yeah,
but and also in Australia, in our tiny country, not geographically obviously, but population-wise, we have one of the most competitive sports marketplaces in the world. Where else is there rugby league, rugby union, AFL, cricket? The rugby union's in a real place at the moment in Australian rugby.
Not a good place.
No, and there's a lot of why? What's happening? Well, if you're a 16-year-old kid and you get a shoot shield type tap on the shoulder or maybe even a private school scholarship can be quite attractive, but you weigh that up against an NRL club coming with a sports bag full of gear, clothes, I mean.
Yeah.
and 16, 17-year-olds can be paid okay. I mean, when you see your first few $1,000s at that age, it's, oh my God, I made it.
This is awesome, yeah.
So rugby union can't compete with that. So if you look at that rugby union, rugby league issue, and then the AFL has a real stronghold in the other states, there's not much left in terms of top athletes for football, soccer I'm talking about. So Australians, there's often this conversation, why aren't we world class? Well, that's why, in my opinion, because at youth level, you're missing out. The best athletes are going to the rugby codes or AFL. So,
Do you think that rugby league am I biased to think that what you go through in rugby league can be transferable in multi-sports? And that's why you see many athletes venturing into multi-sports or from rugby league, like the Carmichael Hunts, the Israel Folau, or is it the fact that we just don't, when I say we, I'm not in part of it, rugby league anymore, but the NRL have...
Speaking on behalf of the whole of rugby league.
Yeah, speaking on the generalising massively there, but do you think that it would be more the fact that there's not as much money in rugby league, that's why they venture out into something a bit more, or do you find that because rugby league background, we can translate those skills and that work ethic into multiple sports?
Yeah, maybe, probably. It's probably part that and part what I just mentioned. I think the best athletes end up in rugby league because they get them earlier. There's something attractive to a young kid about you're in the system so much earlier in rugby league.
That's right.
Which I'm sure is attractive.
Well, you sort of got to, when I think of football, like my mate used to play football and he played for Pagewood. And he's like, yeah, man, that's like 2 steps away. Like, we're going to go 2 steps away from A-League. I'm like, yeah, but that's, it could be the Roosters and you could be, have wear the Roosters logo and you might be under 20s, but that's still like 2 steps away from A-League, but you're part of the same, as you mentioned, the same system, hey?
And it's kind of an illusion. The latter, I mean, the Roosters thing you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
When you play in the 20s and you're hanging around, you might do some
training drills or
something with the first grade team.
Yeah.
And you think you've made it and you haven't. It's a bit of an illusion, but it's still what gets the kids younger.
Yeah.
Whether it's an illusion or not. Your mate is not wrong. The setup in football, it's so funny because it's almost how the rest of the world works, right? You've got all these tiers. You're still a professional in the UK in many cases if you're in maybe the 3rd or 4th division. But there's promotion and relegation. So there's this overarching theme of we can be promoted.
Yeah.
And I can be promoted. In this country, there's no promotion and relegation to the A-League yet. It's the biggest debate in Australian football at the moment. Expansion and promotion and relegation. And I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling actually that there's a whole sort of template for how this should work called the world of football, soccer, and Australia hasn't followed yet, but it'll happen.
Do you reckon it'll ever get as popular overseas, over here as it is overseas, or do you reckon it'll just be because we've got so many sports, as you mentioned before?
Yeah, it's difficult, and if it gets there, it'll be slow.
Yeah.
One of the main sort of things football can do is sit back and let the other codes unravel themselves with ridiculous media scandals, and even the fact that contact sports are proving to be quite dangerous in the long term. These revelations to come out of those studies with concussions in the NFL, they've made it to Australia. That's the reason why there's now the concussion rule. So I'm sure parents will be more inclined to have their kids play football instead of one of the rugby codes.
Yeah.
Rugby league is so defensive in its business model. There doesn't seem to be a real attempt to globalise rugby league.
Yeah.
It's
half-assed job with the World Cup.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like that's a non-event in comparison to a football World Cup or even a rugby union World Cup. It's very much you play rugby league here in England or one team in France. That's where you can play professional rugby league, and they hang on to it for dear life. It's difficult to penetrate, but it could also be what could really hurt a game like rugby league, because if you don't diversify, then you're vulnerable in a sense. But it's disappointing sometimes when you. I can't believe we're talking so much about sport.
I know, yeah. We haven't even gone down.
I don't talk about sport ever.
Oh, really?
Never. So,
we'll go down the academic path
after this. No, keep it organic. But it's disappointing sometimes when even when you watch like the Footy Show or one of these programs, and you can tell there's this yearning from the old rugby league guy to hang on to the past.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous too for a sport to be. I'll never forget a line I heard from Matty Johns once about the difference being between like the NFL and the NRL is that in Australia, you know your neighbour. And it was like this sort of...
The essence of camaraderie around rugby league.
Yeah, but also like this direct relationship with your fans and your club and stuff like that. And that all sounds lovely, but it also shows how small this game is.
Yeah.
And whether that makes it vulnerable, I'm not sure. But it certainly doesn't help if the goal is, and I don't know if it is, to be a global game and to be a product like the NFL, which it will never be, but you know, we all need to aim high.
Yeah. NFL is just one country, but yet it's...
Shortest season ever.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable marketing.
Yeah.
This attraction to game day.
80,000 people in a normal game.
Yeah.
And we can't even get 80,000 people in an Allianz.
No, we can't.
Or whatever it is, SFS now. Like, we can't get that in a... We're probably just lucky to get 5,000 people.
No. It's actually an interesting topic, atmosphere, in Australian sport, because we build these monstrosities like ANZ Stadium for the Olympics that was designed to have a track. I understand this. Have they committed to redeveloping that?
Yeah, I think they are. I thought they were doing it at the same time as SFS, but they're not. I don't think they're doing it at the moment. I think they're doing maybe doing SFS first.
Yeah. Well, in any case, it's horrific to watch football or rugby league. You know, if you're not in that first tier, you may as well be sitting at home.
Yeah.
Where the Premier League in England, for example, or even any of your top tier, the top 5 leagues in Europe, I'm back to football, obviously. You know, Germany, France, England, Italy, Spain. There's nothing better than those 20,000 seat stadiums being packed out and just rocking. And we actually have those in Sydney. You know, you have your Leichhardt Ovals. Your old Parramatta Stadium was unbelievable on a Sunday arvo, either the Wanderers or the Eels. But we're obsessed with these massive stadiums.
And I feel it.
Yeah, and it just makes a horrible experience for a live spectator. It makes a horrible experience for a TV spectator. I don't understand. Fill out a few times a year for Ed Sheeran, who is, if I may offer the caveat, he's one of the greats.
Yeah.
But
doing it for the redheads.
I don't understand. Yeah.
By the flag, mate.
Yeah. I don't understand this obsession with massive stadiums. Allianz SFS is awesome. Like it's a great size.
Yeah.
You've probably been to like an Anzac Day game.
Yeah.
Roosters Dragons.
Yeah. I think I might have played before one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
What an event.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Like, I feel like Australian sport in general, we're just shit fans. I don't know what it is. Like, let's call a spade a spade. We don't go to the games. We don't offer that excitement. And then is that why like we prefer to watch it at home? I mean, I was just speaking to my uncle about this, and he was like, yeah, you don't see a tab, like a TAB in, I think he said, you don't see that many TABs in that many pubs or pokies in the pubs. It's like separate right. In the north of England anyway, where my family's from in Hull. They have pokey rooms. Okay. That's it. Like, you just go in a room and then there's like 20 pokies in it. But you don't have like pokies, tab. I didn't see that many. Pokies, tab, drinking all the same place. That's right. Why we don't go to I feel like there's more atmosphere in the pub and a drinking culture than there is in actually going and supporting your team that you've been following for how many years or whatever it is. So
well, that would definitely support a hypothesis that there's more going on there. There's more activities there.
Yeah.
Than, I mean, I've never been to an NFL game, but I'm told that part of the attraction is how much there is to do on game day.
Oh, really?
You know, in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And you know, between play, entertainment, it's a show.
Mm.
Even going and watching rugby or football in England, I'm not sure. A lot of the grounds are surrounded by pubs and restaurants, so there's that like you go there for the day type theme.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
I feel like in order for it's like a double edge. In order for us to grow, like as a sporting nation where we follow what America's follow. I feel like America just seemed to follow anything. Like if there's a game of handball on the street, there'll be like 10,000 people in the crowd. Like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Where we're not as interested. I don't know where that stems from. Not for me to judge it or anything. It's just interesting to see that you go to an A-League game. Yeah, I've been in an A-League game. It's Sydney FC against Wanderers. Yeah. And they were just going off, and then I go to Rabbitohs versus Roosters. It doesn't have the same sort of effect.
No, that is a great event. The Derby is a great event, but and just to sort of echo what you just said, I can't pinpoint what the difference is either. But it is bizarre that we can't fill out Allianz for every sporting event, and then everyone just goes mad in Paddington.
Mm. It's sort of closed down now. Paddington's not as.
It's a strange vibe.
Oxford Street sort of like seems to be not just like a ghost town as much as it used to be. Like
it's not buzzing by any means.
Nah, which is a shame.
Yeah.
More money in pubs, more money in TAB, Sportsbet, and all these other places as well. And you can still do that on your phone if you're at the game.
I don't know if they're going forward with it at ANZ, but I know the plan was to make it sort of a restaurant bar precinct around the stadium. And maybe that could work. I know it's Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, isn't it?
Millennium Stadium,
yeah. That's what that's like. It's just turning back to the American go there for the day type scene. It's got that, but I don't know.
It's interesting.
And then there's this. America's a massive country.
Yeah, 350
million. So
350 million.
Where spec on the
where
ball.
Probably our amount of people in our country could fill one state, maybe the amount of people in America.
I don't know how many people those big states have, but they're quite well spread out, aren't they?
Go to Texas. I'm sure there'll be. But that's another interesting thing. Like just going on Texas, I spoke about my mate Andrew, who's in with this as well.
Yeah.
He's from Texas. And he's telling me about the rules. There's too many rules in I don't know if it's Sydney or New South Wales because he hasn't lived anywhere else. It's like there's a rule everywhere. I go driving and there's like a 40k speed camera, 60k's, 80k's, 70k's. Right. It's like the police state. So maybe that's, I don't know, is that why we don't really go for it as much as other countries because there's more rules in place? I don't know.
Could be. I'm definitely concerned with our approach to summer and rules. Having lived in Europe for quite some time, and I really got to appreciate that drink by the beach sort of. We don't have a real sort of beach drink restaurant bar type situation. That's frowned upon. You don't drink at the beach. I appreciate it's the rules are there. There's good intent behind the probably overdone rules, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm mindful of what I say because you don't want people getting drunk and drowning, obviously.
No, exactly right.
But that doesn't happen in Europe.
Yeah. But if there's less rules, does that mean? I mean, you study philosophy. Does that come under philosophy? Is that if there's less rules, there's the more freedom, more flexibility, and less anxiety around those rules. Therefore, like the marijuana now, like we have strict laws. I'm not saying we should go smoke marijuana, but we have strict laws in Australia that doesn't condemn it. It condemns it. No. But now they're starting to bring out laws in other parts of the world that you can smoke. So
let me read a quote to you.
All right.
Keep talking.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting. We had in here the other day a guy who owns Unharm.
That's right. Yeah.
And he was telling us that decriminalising drugs, it's not punishing people for doing wrong. It's just that an essence of that is like in Netherlands. I think they stopped they decriminalised drugs, and with that in mind, you're not legally allowed to make drugs. You can't have MDMA on you, but you're allowed to take it. It's weird. It's a weird one.
Yeah,
So with that in mind, there's been less deaths at festivals because there's drug testing at festivals where there's not like 57 dogs around the stadium or whatever it is trying to say like we're going to catch every single person. Policing
it by the taxpayer.
Yeah, exactly right.
Doing nothing. Yeah.
And then you see someone like over the weekend that they're dying because they're either taking a shitty substance, which if there was a drug test in there, that flexibility of rules, not flexibility, that's a different scenario, I guess, but it's not as many rules enforced on something where it could be a different approach to get a better result. You know what I mean? He had this, and this Will guy said to me, he did the first one in Victoria, and he found that people were coming up to him with pills and stuff like that and saying, can you test it? And then they were faulty pills. If they take them, they could run the risk of dying.
Yeah.
So what do? They go back, they dumped them then there, and they went back to their camp and got 200 more that they had on them because they were going to sell them to their mates and dumped all them. Imagine how many deaths that would have potentially saved, or how many people being sick, or those sorts of things. So
it's almost, I don't know if it's the right word, but we'll go with counterintuitive. The idea that it's a better approach to test pills than to up the ante with police, and the conservative position usually is no drugs, more police, da-da-da. But
punish.
Yeah, but we know through a few hundred years of philosophy and now neuroscience that we're so susceptible to... We can't trust our intuition, and we need to look at the data, and the data is clear. Pill testing works. It's so beyond questioning now. And the fact that we've got a premier that digs their heels in for an ideology rather than fact is actually frightening. It's obviously disappointing. And
well, she wants to. She, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't even keep up. Yeah. She wants to get re-elected by the people who are putting her in power, who are just the same age, if not older, and they don't. That it feels like that continuing that.
She's ignoring them.
What's that?
She's ignoring them.
Ignoring who?
She's ignoring the pleas of people who have the information, have the data, have an idea that doesn't fix the problem, and I'm sure none of them claim, but it helps it. It allows time for us to work out how we navigate around these issues. What? But I'm somewhat across this stuff because I've got a lot of interest in, especially psychedelics, and drugs. The term drug is a blanket term that has really. I'll read this quote.
I'm actually pretty eager to hear.
Yeah. So it's a Graham Hancock quote, and it says, I think it was Graham Hancock. Anyway, it says, "How did these societies that consider themselves to be enlightened, democratic, and scientific get to declaring plants illegal?" So it comes up quite a bit in the marijuana debate, as well as the legalization of drugs debate. there's countries like Portugal that were overrun with issues to do with, I'm pretty sure it was heroin, and then did this sort of crazy revolution sweep of legalizing drugs. They have just I won't harp on about it, but one of their sort of tactics within this policy was that if you're a drug addict, you're not criminalised, so then you're likely to go and talk to people like a counsellor or some form of social services. There's an incentive for employees. It might be if you say the former drug addict who's now sought help is a qualified mechanic. A mechanic can then hire that person, and I think the government pays 50% of their wage or something like that.
Wow.
So there's an incentive to get these people who are not just drug addicts, they're mentally injured in most cases. The use of drugs is, in a very general sense, a form of escapism. So there's an incentive to them there's an incentive for them to seek help, and then there's an incentive for society to take them back in with open arms. I mean, Portugal's been an amazing sort of first go at this. There's other countries. I know Switzerland have many injecting rooms or injecting sites where drug users in an environment where they can talk about their problem and sort of adopt a weaning off strategy within a safe space where they're not going to be criminalised. But you criminalise this stuff, you're the only outcome is that it doesn't go away; it goes underground, which is an unsafe environment generally.
And look at the drug world in Central and South America. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, was it 100 or 200,000 deaths that's caused?
Yeah, I don't know the stats, but I'll believe you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the exact stats. Yeah. It's something ridiculous.
You didn't count.
No, I didn't count.
It's but that drug industry still exists in those places, right? So it's funny actually when you watch like a series like Narcos or something like that. Pablo Escobar is then gone. But cocaine is as easy as going down the street right now in a city like Sydney and buying.
If not more than ever.
Yeah. So it doesn't disappear when these characters disappear.
No.
It's almost like one must accept that it's always going to be around, and how do we work, and how do we maximize human flourishing, knowing that these things exist.
See, Will was saying that he's if you decriminalize drugs, you get the opposite effect. You get the effect of someone buying the drug and not having to be rat poisoned, for example. You get better standards of drugs that are out there, which is a good thing. But there's more education. There's proper education around what you're taking.
Yeah.
Like he's talking about MDMA. He reckons that MDMA will be legalized in the next 5 years. Yeah. There's so many benefits to it. But the problem is that if you get these drugs tested, you're not having MDMA.
No.
You're having other substances within that just to make it up that has similar effects.
Because that market's been pushed underground.
Exactly
right.
They
can make whatever they want, sell whatever they want. I'm quite across and quite passionate about this topic. I mean, I think we spoke maybe last week about my favourite person in the world being Sam Harris, a philosopher and neuroscientist. And
did him and Jordan Peterson go head to head?
Yes.
I never saw that debate. I don't think I saw that debate.
You know what you're doing.
I've got Ballers and I'm watching the Sam Harris.
You're busy. He there's a line, and I think it's Waking Up, this book. It's about meditation and a lot of other stuff that I'm really interested in. And there's a line in it where he sort of says if his daughters never have a drop of alcohol, he's not fussed. He doesn't care.
Mm.
In fact, he might even be pleased with that. But if they never experiment with psychedelics, MDMA, psilocybin mushrooms, DMT, he'd be really disappointed.
Mm.
These are substances, mind-altering substances, where one can learn a lot about themselves. There's another great book that's recently come out by Michael Pollan, who's a scientific journalist who generally writes about food and stuff like that, like the benefits of or how we've been poisoned, that kind of stuff. But he's done a book called How to Change Your Mind, where I think he's 60 or 70, never done a drug in his life, and he's just gone and done them all.
No way.
But he was going out into the desert because there's many ways that you can get DMT. But the traditional way was, they call it milking, but it's not. It's the excretion from a toad in the desert.
Oh, wow.
And I think now they get this toad to do whatever it does on glass, and they scrape the crystals back and blah, blah, blah. And he talks about the experience of doing that. And then you smoke it, and you have an amazing, enlightening experience. To call that a drug and pair it with heroin, it's misleading, it's inappropriate, and same as mushrooms. Like people have the most amazing experiences. He goes into depth about terminally ill patients having these psychedelic experiences, and one day being so frightened of death and regret, and I didn't do this and I didn't do that, having a psychedelic experience and the elation and the I guess happiness, for lack of a better term, is just so evident after these experiences. So grateful for the life they've had. This experience has taken them through a full photo book of memories. So that there's clear benefits in this stuff, and to throw it in the same bucket as another drug is so misleading, and potentially we're missing out on a lot.
Yeah. I find it fascinating that I went to America and I had to go to into a cannabis store. I just had to see what it was like over there. So me and my missus she's from Portland, Oregon.
Is it legal there?
It's legal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to see what was in these stores. So I went into the store, and I found the guy fascinating because he's qualifying me. He's sitting there going, so how many times have you had cannabis before?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, God knows, maybe a few times.
Would he be a chemist or just an expert on?
I think he's an expert on it. Okay. I don't know if he would be a chemist on it.
Okay.
But he's in the store, and he's like, okay, so this is your first time. You haven't done it in like 10 years or whatever it is. Okay, this is what I recommend. And he's qualifying you on what he recommends you should be having.
Right. So there's definitely a level of care there.
Yeah. You go into an alcohol shop. Did they ever go, oh mate, it's your first time. You just have a light beer.
It's your first
time. I'll have a hip flask.
Sack.
Yeah, hit a goon sack, mate. Don't have too much of a goon sack.
Yeah.
No one does that in an alcohol shop.
No.
But yet they're qualifying people when you're going into a shop so you can do it in a safe environment. But no one's ever overdosed on cannabis.
No. Well, you could bring that sort of even closer to home, if you like. No one's in the soft drink aisle at Woolworths saying, how many bottles of 2 litre Coke have you had today?
Yeah.
To the extremely unhealthy, depressed person in there smashing Coca-Cola, or even the over-the-counter drugs at a pharmacy or just a supermarket. No one's there monitoring these arguably much more harmful things.
Mm.
So again, to throw cannabis in that bucket is foolish. And cannabis, we know, like there's not just the art of smoking it. There's the oils and other forms of things that have been taboo for so long that are now having really interesting effects for people. My mum's got an autoimmune disease, so we're having these discussions often about things that they're very sort of modern, and there's not a whole lot of information out there for the modern autoimmune diseases, and you're always coming across the CBD oil phenomena, hemp this, cannabis that, people might be getting benefits, but these are taboo things in Australia and much of the world, because one day one person or a group of people declared these substances illegal and bad, probably for their own cause, and now we're part of the ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly right. And I don't know. I think that there's so many people in the past that didn't have any monetary. They couldn't monetize it as much as they could maybe in other areas yet. That's why they probably haven't made it legalized. Where you could profit from alcohol. So then what do they do? They had prohibition.
Yeah. Well, definitely. A lot of the pushback on marijuana is from Big Pharma.
Yeah.
Because a lot of their pain-killing, antidepressant type drugs would potentially become irrelevant or unnecessary.
Yeah. Mate, it's a whole rabbit hole we're opening up right now. Yeah. Could go on for weeks or hours. Philosophy.
Yeah.
I'm a bit interested in philosophy only because first of all, I'm interested in it because I actually don't know the subject and what you would actually study. Like what is the study of philosophy? And I've read books in the past that may have an essence of philosophy in there, but I don't know if it's what you study or if it's an umbrella term for like health, for example. But then there's different types of philosophy. Like you have health, and then you have and then you have fitness, and then in fitness you have yoga and Pilates and strength and conditioning. Is it like that with philosophy, or is it just
a little bit? It can be. You could definitely, sort of in a certain context, call it an umbrella term, but it is, I guess, the who, what, when, why, how of everything. It's the deep questions. It encourages thought and discussion. Much of what you read you don't agree with, and that's healthy. Because then you've actually got to, if you're going to, especially publicly or out loud at least, go against one's philosophy, you better know your position. That's the part I love about it. There's ancient philosophy, which is a period of time where many credit the sort of start of deep thought anyway, and challenging control and the norms. And that's where you usually hear names like Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. They pop up. And then modern philosophy is sort of that period from the 1600s to now. Europe had the Enlightenment period, where a lot of these names rose to the surface that we still quote and look to now for guidance. A lot of the thought and writing of these people. Descartes, Immanuel Kant, David Hume, these guys. It's a tricky one to answer directly. without going on a 2-hour rant.
Sort of feel like if you're talking about philosophy, you're talking about it for a long period of time. You can't just have like a few minute conversation around it, can you?
Or narrowing it right down. So
what's the benefit? Is it to make people better? I mean, what's the benefit of studying philosophy, or what's the benefit of philosophy?
Yeah, definitely. Like a branch of philosophy would be ethics, right? So what is right and wrong? Good and bad. So it's definitely it's got that side of things. It's hard to see or imagine progress without deep thought, analysis, discussion, and that's philosophy. You can go narrow on it as well. Like I've done modules like love or skepticism or what is a human person. People don't agree on these things. Love was such an interesting topic because it's such a subjective feeling. You would probably say that you love your partner, but I don't know what that feels like. I'm not you. We've really stuffed up with the term love and making it a blanket term. The Greeks had 33 words for love.
Wow.
Different. So, there's, of course, romantic love or family, the love between a mother and child, or mates. A lot of people would say they love their mates.
Yeah.
The Greeks would have a different, the ancient Greeks, of course, would have a different word for each of those. So for us, I recall in this module me sort of saying, a lot of us who are anti-religion, shall we say that religion is like sport. And you'll know what I mean in a second. I use this same sort of tactic when we're talking about love. Religion is like the term sport.
Yeah.
There's lawn bowls, and then there's Thai boxing.
Yeah.
I mean, what is similar about those, apart from participants probably
rules?
So many differences, right?
Yeah.
And love's the same. There's so many different forms, and I guess I'm just trying to expose how philosophy looks at this sort of stuff and analyzes and works out what it means, how we can, how we can protect forms of love, especially some forms of love that may have been, in a societal sense, frowned upon at certain times because of someone else's thought or some doctrine. Homosexuality is a great one. People say, it's a form of sexuality. Well, it's also a form of love. How can you say that those involved in a relationship like that have any, how can you have a position that it's different to the love that you feel for your partner? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So philosophy would look at that. Philosophy and ethics would look at that and have a deep, meaningful conversation about how that, the rights and wrongs around that.
Yeah. Even love though, and even love with my partner, there's different loves within that love.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's the thing, I love what she does for me, for example.
Yeah.
There's things that she does.
Yeah.
And then the way she makes me feel, and then the way, she gets along with my friends. Like in the interaction part, like I find that there's different types of love. So to only say there's 33, well not only 33, but there's 33 types of love, you could expand that into many different forms.
Yeah.
On that as well.
It's astounding. I forget where I read it. Anyway, a lot of people are in love with the way that they fight with their partners. It points to meaning and this being worth something. If we fight about things, like if you just went, oh, whatever, this isn't worth it.
Yeah.
There'd be some concern there about how much that relationship or even point they're fighting about means. So another form.
Yeah.
The difference between love for people and love for things is an interesting topic. You probably love this studio.
Yeah.
You deep care for it.
Because I just saw an empty room, and then it just translated into something that I got to be that I'm passionate about doing.
Yeah, like there you go. Like so, that passion word, that's important in love generally.
Or the fact that I get to see what happened in my mind, I got to come into that physical form. That's like a love visualization. Is that would be the best way to describe that feeling? I mean, or is that back to passion? That's love.
It's one of the most interesting things about love. Like how define love now.
Mate, it's so hard.
Yeah, and every single person has a different definition. I remember I had this argument within this module about we were trying to understand why we do give love a blanket term when there's so many different forms. And the class had come up with care. And I was so angry. I just thought, no, that's just a synonym. Like, you can't have, it's not the overarching theme, like care. Like, you're just describing sort of what goes on within love. Like, it's not, what I found beautiful was our inability to define it. That's probably why it's special. I mean, you come across this in life often. It's often the things that are hard to define and only the things that you can feel rather than give a firm definition to that are most important.
Yeah. Shit, I shouldn't have asked you that question then. What is philosophy? That's one word.
It's good fun.
And so, is there an end game with everything that you're studying? I mean, and first of all, before I ask that question, even though I've already asked it, what made you want to go do 3 different degrees and diplomas simultaneously? Because that makes me anxious thinking about that.
Yeah.
1 degree, law degree, thinks, oh God, you know.
Yeah.
Yet you want to do 3.
I'm pretty obsessed with knowledge.
Yeah.
I do enjoy it all.
What did it? Because I knew you since you were 19, 20.
Yeah.
But I didn't see you that way. Was it always just bubbling under the surface that you pushed away, that you didn't want a part of it because you wanted to?
Wasn't cool.
Wasn't cool.
Yeah, it wasn't cool to be obsessed with knowledge or books, and now I just don't care.
So you've been like that at school? You were pretty smart, or is it something that's just unlocked?
I was okay at school.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a recent thing that I've embraced and expressed. Law I was doing that anyway because it was going to be a great platform to my agent work. Agent works. Excuse me. Agent work is predominantly contracts. So to be an expert at the law was important. A lot of agents aren't lawyers, so that would have been my edge, I'd like to think. So I was doing it anyway. I'm nearly done law, so I've just sort of pumped the brakes on it, and obviously turned it into a double degree in law and philosophy. So I'm sort of putting in more philosophy units at the moment, so they kind of end simultaneously. Chinese, studying the Chinese language. I was probably pushed into the idea at a time where the Chinese market in football was crazy. There was a time, maybe 2 years ago, where I think 3 of the highest paid players in the world were in China. And China as a destination for Australians was, before they changed the rule recently, very attractive. So China's in the AFC and so is Australia, the Asian Federation. across Asia, most leagues have this 3+1 rule. We're allowed 3 foreign players plus 1 Asian player.
Mm.
China doesn't produce a lot of big, in a physical sense, defenders. Were very attractive to Chinese clubs. And I thought, yeah, well, why don't you do Chinese?
Mandarin or Cantonese?
Mandarin. It's myth's probably too firm of a word, but there's not a lot of places and provinces in Asia that still speak Cantonese.
Mm.
Mandarin's the language.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started doing it, and then I just ignored. I didn't care that the Chinese market had dropped, and they changed the rule where Aussies couldn't go there as a +1 player anymore. It was just irrelevant. I enjoyed learning the language, and I think it's good for other areas of academic life. It's very hard.
Mm.
I play a lot of chess as well, so I kind of put these in the same bucket. Chess and Chinese is just brain strain exercises.
Yeah.
So then when you go and read a 500-word book about philosophy or law, that's a breeze.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
And look, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but Mandarin will probably be a very prominent language in this country in the next decade.
Oh, so, definitely.
There's opportunities with that. It's my studies at the moment. I don't have a very specific goal. It's more about enjoying it. Philosophy is like a degree where I feel it gives you time to think about where you'd like to take this knowledge. You and I had a conversation last week about my interest in the mind, cog science, neuroscience. That's possibly where it's headed, which would mean more study after these are out of the way, but that's fine. So yeah, I can't answer your question in full about career prospects, but I can explain why one would study philosophy, and I'll have a law degree as well, so I'll be a boring lawyer.
Yeah.
If I want, but I doubt
it. I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
You have different subjects to talk about with people in different languages as well.
Yeah.
So
it's funny, a lot of people think that philosophy is sort of, or philosophers are a dying sort of trade, let's say. But most of the biggest corporations in the world hire philosophers or ethicists who've philosophy background to look at, analyze, talk about, and put forward ideas for company strategy, vibe, workplace relations, that kind of thing. With the rise of AI, there's a really interesting conversation about who should be the people programming these things.
Yeah.
And do you know who Yuval Noah Harari is?
No.
So he wrote Homo Sapiens, Homo Deus, and 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. That's his new one. And he talks about the potential need or re-need, shall we say, for philosophers and ethicists as the rise of AI is upon us.
Yeah.
Because who do you want programming these things? A totalitarian, authoritarian type government, or even a tech company with a commercial benefit. Do you want them doing this, or do you want specialists in ethics? I'll let you be the judge.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even think of that.
I hadn't either until I read Yuval's new book. Thought there might be a job for me after all.
It's going to be a job either way.
Programming the robots.
and then working on behalf of them as their lawyers.
Yeah, when they commit wrongs. Pro bono.
Yeah, that's it. Mate, I think it's been an absolute privilege to sit down and have a chat with you.
Yeah, likewise.
We could chat for hours, I'm sure. But it's been a couple of months, I reckon, in the making to get you to sit down.
I apologise.
Not at all, mate. No, we've been trying to get in here those sorts of things. It just hasn't aligned yet. So I'm glad that we got to sit down and have a conversation.
Can you do a little PodHub plug? Because I'll obviously upload this as well, and we can let my people know that this will be HQ for me as well.
Mate, well, the PodHub is in Edgecliff station, so we're a podcast production studio, mainly through audio. We do video, but our cameras just ran out of battery. I think that this is one of those situations where we I'm always honest.
Yeah, go for it.
Startup. So if we're still trying to work things out here, and this is what I love about the PodHub scenario, because it's not this like rules set in stone. It's like we're trying to grow something organically with the people around us that also see the same vision, and then want to be part of the journey at the same time, so we can all improve.
Yeah.
Not instead of being a dictatorship of like a company where it's a CEO and there's like everyone beneath them. It's not like that. It should be a collaboration, and that's what I love about this that we're trying to create here. So for people who want to start their own podcasts, audiobooks, and who should start their own podcasts and audiobooks, everyone.
Yeah.
Think about documenting. There's never been a moment in our lives where we've got the ability to document our life like we do with podcasts. When has there ever been a time where we get to document our life? When has there been a time where we get to document our grandfather's life, sitting down and having a chat with him, or nonna, if they're in Australia, probably in Italy, but you get my point. You get to hear the stories of where they came from. So then you can pass that information down to generations. Like, I feel like that there's something more in this than just sitting down and having a conversation. That's just like one selfish thing for me, because I get to sit down with an intelligent person like yourself. But it goes beyond that, I think. It goes for some people, it goes for generations to come. You might be able to get an interview with an uncle that or an auntie that did something special in their lifetime, and then you get to have that as a Lenarduzzi in the history.
Yeah, I quite like that spiel.
Does that make sense? So, nice. Like I see that.
Yeah, you're getting fluffy.
Yeah, I'm fluffy as, mate. That sounded wrong. Not a fluff up. But you get my drift, though. Like, I mean, that's where it's heading. I mean, I think it was in a couple of magazines now that, audio documenting is what's going to happen. Like, a lot more, especially with Alexa and Amazon and Google Home and these sorts of things coming out.
Yeah.
There's more of a need for it, and what better place? I'd love to hear my granddad's history. My granddad's Kyokushin Karate president.
Stop it.
And he used to train Dolph Lundgren. I'm like, mate, get him in a room. And I've interviewed him once, but like,
the voice phenomena is amazing. It's I think it's at least two-pronged. I mean, you just mentioned this. So the way I see it is that you can do it on the run, and we're all very time sensitive in modernity. So the audio book could be what the book industry needed in terms of a sort of
revamp.
Yeah, and then on the other side, it's this ability to record and keep conversations that we've always treasured, but only in our memories in the past. So it's ticking some boxes, the audio phenomena.
Yeah, more than just and it's just like, the podcast is obviously a buzzword around it, but it's more than that to me. It's more just documenting, in a different format. So just to have that audio wherever it is, you don't have to have it like on the video. Might be on YouTube, yes, but the audio that you have, it could be on other platforms than just video, and you can listen to it anywhere, as you mentioned, like having that opportunity to. So I'll be grateful and humbled for the opportunity to produce your show.
Yeah.
If you when you're coming in here on Thursday, so if we're allowed to speak about that.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, and I think that it'll be great to see, just to sit in the background and have the ability to just to be. I'm not selfish, but I get to see you having a conversation with your intellect with someone else with their intellect and sit in the background.
Selfish, you're really helping me.
No, but you know what I mean. Like it's good to see that I get to be in the room firsthand and feel it how it is, and then produce it out to the world.
Sure.
An interesting conversation that you'll have on Thursday night.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun, and you'll have to come on mine now, mate.
That's it, mate. Whenever you want.
You owe me.
I can talk about the humble hero.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to go on, but that'll be the theme.
Yeah.
I want to know more about it.
The humble hero. Well, yeah, we'll leave that for the next one, I guess. You got to listen to the audiobook first.
Well, I don't have many friends that have produced a book, so you're just elevated to the special class.
Ah, thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
It's not like those things. Always. Maybe it's a bit cheap. No, well, I've listened to a lot of Tony Robbins stuff in the past, and that success, positivity, whether it's just inbuilt in me now, so you only see that. That's maybe what drove me into doing something like that. But then what Tony Robbins says is always stand on the shoulder of giants, or enroll people to do what you want to do in order to get what you want. So you just hire the people around you. So I hired a book coach to help me get a book out there.
Unreal.
So that it's nothing that I'm not any special or anything like that because I've written a book. It was just a challenge that I overcame, and I just did the work. And the work that she told me to do was write every day. Just write. Even if it's shit, just write. Because over the first couple of days, I'm like, I feel like a silly... I'm not going to use any political incorrect terms. I feel stupid.
You're coming worried now.
No, I feel stupid. I feel all these sorts of things in the first couple of days, but it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
And that's what I found interesting, that if you want to accomplish a goal or you want to accomplish something that you've had inside your mind, it has to become a habit first.
Yeah.
Every single day. Not like one day I'm going to write 10,000 words and that's it. It's like you do something every single day, and then at the end of the 30 days, you'll have 30,000 words.
The percentage of people who have their behaviour in line with their goals would be very small.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talking going on. But the amount of people that behave in the way required to achieve what they talk about or think about, maybe less than 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got a flashback of when before we went to Wales, and then my mates even saying to me, like I had to brush them in Germany. Didn't go to Germany Oktoberfest so I could go play for Italy. Yeah. So I had like a $500 accommodation that I had to leave behind. That was prepaid for. My mates wouldn't give me the money back.
Ouch.
And they go, and they were just sitting there going, mate, why, let's just go drinking together. Why wouldn't you just go, why would you do that? And but I'm like, in my head, it was a story. It was like wow, this is a good story to tell. And then from that point, even though I was just spending that time drinking, the next month or so, I just spent every day like, oh God, I'm so out of shape. I've got to do something.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say in that situation is that when I found that when I signed up to something, I can't back out of it. And that's what's led me into the position. It's like almost thinking backwards. Forward thinking, but thinking backwards.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, oh shit, in 60 days, I'm going to be playing for Italy. Oh my God, well, what do I got to do? They're like, on the 59th day, where do I want to be at? Yeah. Well, I don't want to be doing like hardcore strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
I want to be at the stage where I'm working on my skill set, so then I work backwards from there.
Yeah.
And it scares me enough that I have to switch on,
There's something in that, like, there's definitely something admirable about one who keeps their word. But again, talking about subjectiveness of life. Like, you don't know how that feels to that other person necessarily, that you kept your word. But right now you're talking about the word you kept with yourself. You know exactly how that feels.
Yeah.
And if you have the ability to download that and remember it, it's a pretty handy trait to have.
Yeah, I'm sure that you're going through your own success path at the moment. You'll be finding the same thing.
Battler student, mate.
Huh?
I'm just a battler student.
Yeah, but a student will soon become a teacher. I'm sure of it.
We'll see.
Thank you so much for your time, buddy, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Will do.
Hopefully. Yep.
Cheers.